In this video, you are going to learn SJF preemptive scheduling. You already know what is meant by the preemptive scheduling. The process has to vacate their place and make the available to the other processes. Make available that place for the other process. Now, in this example, there are 5 processes, and in these 5 processes, the shortest burst time is associated with the process P5. Okay, the shortest burst time is associated with the process P5. Now, CPU is going to accept the process which are having the shortest burst time. So, technically we should say that process P5 should arrive first. But the arrival time of process P1 is just a 0 second. So, in the Gantt chart, process P1 will take the first position, right? But the burst time of process P1 is how much? Is 3 seconds. So let us add that 3 seconds into a 0. So 0 plus 3 is 3. So at the third second, the process P2 starts, because the arrival time of process P2 is 2 seconds, though the burst time is quite larger as compared to the other processes. We can see here the burst time of process P2 is quite larger as compared to the rest of the 4 processes. But process P2 has started its execution at the 3rd second but couldn't complete its execution. It has just executed itself only up to 1 second, because at the next 1 second the process P3 has arrived. Because what is the arrival time of P3? P3 is 4. So at the next 1 second process P3 has arrived. So 3 plus 1, 4. So at the 4th second, process P3 has started. Now process P3 doesn't need to interrupt itself, doesn't need to vacate itself, because the burst time of process P3 is quite smaller than the burst time of process P2. So P3 has completed its execution with the given time. So 4 plus 4, that is 8. So at the 8th second, the process P5 has arrived. Why process P5 has arrived here? Though the arrival time of process P5 is 8, but the burst time of process P5 is only 2 seconds. So CPU has accepted the process P5 first and P4 later. So P5 has completed its execution. P5 has completed its execution within the given time. So 8 plus 2, that is 10. So at the 10th second again, the process P2 has resumed itself, because the 5 seconds are remaining of process P2. What is the burst time of process P2 is 6 seconds. But in the early stage, that process P2 couldn't able to complete its execution. It has completed only half of the execution. So only 1 second it has completed. But what about the rest of the 5 seconds? So 5 seconds are still pending. 5 seconds of process P2. So process P2 will be resumed itself and will complete its execution at the 15 second, right? So plus 5 will be added over here. These plus 5 will be added over here. So now at the 15th second, process P4 has started. So what is the burst time of process P4? Is the 5 second. So even P4 has complete its execution. It doesn't have to vacate its place, because there is no other process in the queue left out. So P4 will complete its process at the 20th second, because this burst time will be get added over here in this 15. So 15 plus 5, 20th second. So at the 20th second, process P4 will complete it. Now in this Gantt chart, you can see that process P2 is the only process has to vacate itself and make the place available for P3 and P5, and it will resume itself again at the 10th second. So on the basis of this Gantt chart, we are going to determine the waiting time for each process. Now here the formula will quite change, because since it is a preemptive scheduling, right? Because it is a preemptive scheduling and the processes has to make available their place for the other processes. So the formula for this is waiting time equal to starting time minus arrival time plus new start time minus old finish time. This is the formula, right? Now with respect to this formula, we are going to do the calculation. So the arrival time of P1 is 0. The bus starting time of P1 is 0. And the arrival time of P1 is also 0. So 0 minus 0, 0 millisecond. Now the process P2. The start time of process P2 is 3. The arrival time of process P2 is 2. So 3 minus 2 plus the new start time, because the process P2 has resumed itself. So the new start time, the incomplete part of process P2 will start here at the 10 second. So that will be the new start time and the old finish time. So old finish time was the 4 second, right? So here 10 minus 4 we have taken. So this will be the one bracket, this will be another bracket. So let the bracket calculated first. Here answer will come 1, here answer will come, that is 6, right? So 6 plus 7, that equal to 7 millisecond is the waiting time of P2. Same way we are going to calculate for P3 and P4. So for P3 and P4 we doesn't have to use this formula. For P3 and P4 and P5 we are going to use the previous formula, that is the usual formula, that is start time minus arrival time. We doesn't have to use the P3 new start time and the old finish time, because P3, P4 and P5 they haven't vacated their place for the other processes and they didn't restart it. So the average waiting time for the all the 5 processes. So let's add all these values over here. All the total will be divided by 5. The total we have got is 16. 16 divided by 5, that is 3.2 milliseconds. So this will be the average waiting time. So as usual, we have calculated the turnaround time. There is no separate formula to calculate the turnaround time. So turnaround time equal to finish time minus arrival time. So as usual, I have calculated here P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. So we are going to take the finish time which is given in the Gantt chart. The finish time of P2, that is a new finish time, that is a 15 second. 15 second for P2, 20 second for P4, 8 second for P3 and 3 second is for P1. So with respect to this Gantt chart, I have calculated the turnaround time, and in the same way we are going to calculate the average of it. By adding these numbers, we have got the total 35. 35 divided by 5. So we have got average turnaround time, that is 7.2. Clear? So this is an SJF, that is a shortest job first preemptive scheduling algorithm.